Hello! In this video, we'll be exploring Redpanda Connect. Think of it as a powerful interconnect tool like a Swiss Army knife for streaming data. Redpanda itself is an incredibly fast streaming processing and messaging framework, and Connect works seamlessly with it to integrate many different data systems. The great news is that Connect works with the free Community Edition, so you don't need Redpanda's cloud or enterprise offerings to follow along with this tutorial. Redpanda Connect provides three main types of connectors: input, output, and processor, which mirror the classic ETL pattern: extract, transform, and load. This lets us build streaming ETL workflows in a declarative way. Let's get started by creating a Redpanda instance. For this demonstration, we'll use Google Cloud Platform, but keep in mind that everything we do here works on any cloud environment: AWS, Azure, or even on-premises installations. Our first step is to navigate to Compute Engine in Google Cloud. Since this is a fresh project, we need to enable the Compute Engine API first. Once that's enabled, we can create our virtual machine. For this demo, a small instance is plenty. Something like an F1 Micro or E2 Medium will work fine. We'll select Ubuntu as our operating system since it has more batteries included than Debian. Let's go with Ubuntu LTS. We'll increase the disk size slightly, even though we probably won't need the extra space, and we can skip the backup settings since this is just a demonstration. With these settings configured, let's click Create. The VM should be ready in under 2 minutes since we're using a basic configuration. Once the machine shows green and is ready, we'll SSH into it. For speed, I'll use Google Cloud's in-browser SSH client, but you can use any SSH client you prefer. Next, we need Docker installed on our machine. Docker is like a container system that helps us set up all the software we need for Redpanda without cluttering our operating system. Let's check if Docker is already installed by running a Docker command. It's not there, so we'll run the Docker installation script. After the installation completes, let's verify Docker is working by checking the Docker command. Perfect, Docker is responding correctly. Now we need to create a Docker Compose file to launch Redpanda. Docker Compose is like a recipe that tells Docker how to set up and run our Redpanda instance. The full YAML configuration will be provided in the video description. For those who prefer Kubernetes, you can swap to that later if you want to explore more complex deployments. Let me give you a quick tour of the configuration. We're binding Kafka to 0000, which allows connections from any machine. We have several port mappings set up for our Redpanda instance and for Connect. We're running a single node Redpanda cluster to keep things simple, plus a separate Redpanda Connect container. Let's save this Docker Compose file. We also need a pipeline configuration file. Think of this as the blueprint for our streaming ETL process. For this ultra-simple example, we'll create a Hello World type message that flows into a Redpanda topic called Connect Test. This gives us a basic input generating recurring messages and an output that dumps these messages to our Redpanda topic. Ready to run? Let's execute Docker Compose upd to run in detached mode. If you hit a permissions error about Docker, you'll need to add your user to the Docker group and re-log in to pick up the change. After running Docker ps to list our containers, we notice that Redpanda Connect has exited. It turns out that Redpanda Connect wants a pipeline configuration at startup. Let's fix this by tweaking our Docker Compose YML file. We need to mount our pipeline YAML as connect.yaml inside the container and add the run subcommand to explicitly start the connect process. Let's run Docker Compose upd again and check the logs. The container spins up, but our configuration still has an issue. Looking at the error, we used the wrong key name. Instead of brokers, it should actually be seed brokers according to the documentation. Good catch. Great news, no instant crash this time. Let's peek at the logs. Perfect. Everything looks healthy. Our Redpanda instance is now listening on port 29092. To verify everything is working, we'll jump into the container using docker exec and fire up the RPK CLI. RPK is Redpanda's command line toolbox, another Swiss Army knife for working with Redpanda. Let's run RPK topic consume connect test to consume messages from our test topic. Look at that. We can see hello Redpanda Connect messages streaming in every second, with about a 1-second gap between each message. Our pipeline is successfully working. Now let's raise the stakes and show how easily we can modify these configurations. We'll add a second output topic to demonstrate the flexibility of Redpanda Connect. When we want multiple outputs, we wrap them in a special pseudo output called a broker block. By default, it fans out messages to all outputs, though we could switch to round robin or greedy patterns if needed. Let's name our first output to Redpanda Topic 1. For simplicity in this demo, we'll just copy and paste the Redpanda configuration block, though in a real-world scenario, you'd probably define common configurations that could be reused across pipelines. With this change, every hello message will go to both topics simultaneously. Let's hop back into the container using docker exec and run RPK topic consume connect test 1 to consume from our new topic. After a brief pause while the configuration takes effect, you'll see both outputs become active. Messages are now flowing into both topic 1 and topic 2. Of course, Redpanda can serve as both source and sink in your pipelines. You could read from an input topic, process the data, and write to an output topic, chaining together as many connectors as you need for your use case. Hopefully, this demonstration shows how declaratively and easily we can build streaming pipelines with Redpanda Connect. The power of this approach is that we define our streaming ETL workflows in a simple, readable way. If you'd like to support the channel, consider starting a free trial of our new design tool, which is linked in the description, and let us know what you think. If you have any questions, please post them in the comment section and we'll do our best to respond. Thank you very much for watching till the end, and please enjoy responsibly.